Hello and welcome to this episode of the Naked Coach Collective. And today we're talking about visibility fatigue, the kind of dark side of always being on, always trying to share information, feeling the pressure of sharing all that information. So, have you ever felt like if you don't post today, your business is going to crumble? I can relate to that. And I'm sure B and D can today. And so that is what we're going to talk about on this episode. So we'll start off with, I suppose, trying to understand that meaning of visibility fatigue. So what does it mean to you first? So I'll ask that question to D. Why don't you give us your take?
Visibility, yeah. Okay, so when I wanted to start my business, I thought, right, I'll jump on, and Facebook was my preferred platform. I I did have an Instagram account. I do still, and I have a LinkedIn as well, but neither one I really understood. So being a Facebook user, right? So I thought, right, visibility is getting people to see what you post and letting people learn about you through what you post on your social media. So that's easier said than done because we're fighting an uphill battle with algorithms, with friends, accepting your friends request, people not accepting Facebook request, friends request. So for the visibility part, I took a few courses actually. Let's start there, shall we? I took a few courses on how to run a business online and implemented a lot of these things. Some of them said post something every day. Some said post everything 2 or 3 times a week, but they all said you need to be consistent. So I started to create content and I kind of enjoyed it, but I found it very full of pressure. The pressure to have something perfect, the perfectionism thing again, the way that the fact that you're always representing yourself every time you say something on there, and you don't want to upset people, you don't want to ostracize anybody, or and especially when you're building a business, you don't really know your niche and you're trying to attract different people from different backgrounds. It was a minefield at the beginning, and if you get a chance to look at my socials, please do. But right, um, I haven't done anything for about 3 months now because it is very hard to keep visible. It is really hard to keep the momentum going, to keep coming up with new content, to keep making it relevant and interesting so that people are actually getting benefit from what you say. So, in a nutshell, the visibility thing, as far as business is concerned, was difficult. And I wanted to be a coach. I didn't want to be a business owner. When I thought about what I love to do, I just want to coach people. And creating a business was a secondary thing for me. And having to be a social media personality was difficult. I'll stop there for now.
Yeah. Yeah. What about yourself, B? What does that kind of visibility fatigue mean to you?
Yeah, I can. Do you know what? Think about it now, and I feel shuddery and just like, oh, because I remember initially like decent, like so we did my coaching, and I want to be a coach, and I'd had quite a lot of experience of online work, having had my own business as well. So the online work didn't scare me. I wasn't worried about videos and stuff like that because I'd done them. But it's vastly different. I was promoting products online with my own business. When you're promoting yourself, it's a very different thing. So if you can talk about a product and you know your products, which I did, and I could talk and I had other people with me and have a laugh, etc. But when you're doing it on your own and you're trying to get across points and you are trying to talk about what you do as a coach and who you help, and so initially I went all in. So I didn't do the one channel. So caveat here, don't go all in. So just don't, unless you're going to pay somebody to do it. And I think the other thing to say is, if you're just a coach and you've got the space and time and you don't need to work doing anything else and you can build just your coaching business, then go all in. Absolutely. I was working full time, as all of us were when we launched our coaching businesses. And so I went all in, and what I decided to do was to post. So initially I started with 3 channels, the ones that I felt I knew better. So Facebook, Instagram, which was easy because they sort of cross post. And then I was doing, I'm trying to think, I was doing TikTok, I think. I can't remember. I did TikTok and LinkedIn, one or the other. And then I thought, oh, it'd just be so much easier if I got a platform that posted for me. So I paid and took on a platform that posted for me, and it would post to every single social media I wanted. So I joined up my accounts, and I think at one point it was 5 or 6 social medias. But what you forget is that the one piece that you produce has to be different for each social media platform, because one won't take a picture that size, one won't take that many words. And oh my God, it just got to the point where I think I spent my whole entire time outside of my full-time job in my office upstairs trying to work out what it was I wanted to record, how I wanted to say it, and how I was going to put it out. What picture was I going to use? Oh my God, I used to have to take pictures like here, there, and everywhere. And I'll be honest with you, it exhausted me. It absolutely wiped me out to the point where I didn't feel like I was even me anymore with what I was saying. Because I was trying to get out so much stuff that I would then start looking at things like ChatGPT and get ideas, but they weren't my ideas. And whilst some things I sort of resonated with, other things I'd be saying, and I'm just, and a bit like Dee, there'd be times when I'd want to say something, but I'd be like, oh yeah, but I'm quite new, and that's quite a radical thought, and maybe somebody wouldn't like it, and then and do you know what? I think, well, I know what happened in the end. I just got complete overwhelm, and I just, instead of just like taking a step back and thinking how I could change it, I literally just walked away from it. I literally just stopped, and thought, I can't do this anymore, and that was nearly the end of coaching, really, for me, I suppose.
That's interesting that you've kind of linked that's the end of coaching for me, when actually all it was the end of social media marketing for you. I think from my perspective, I can't relate to the fatigue side of this so much on the social media front, because as soon as I started doing it, I was like, this is rubbish. And it does not fill me with joy at all. I am not interested. The only reason I want social media is so I can watch people walking in the mountains and making food. I was like, I just don't need this in my life. So if you ever looked on my social medias, there's so little on there because I just do not care. I'm not bothered about it a little bit, obviously, because it is good for business. It's been proved to be good for business, but it's just not me, and I don't want to. Bloody hell!
Sorry.
Nearly deafened me then, B.
Sorry.
It's just not me. I don't want to go down that route of being tied to posting every day and blah 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 blah. I just want to watch people walking in the mountains, have a look at a good view, and maybe making some steak on a hill.
Or doggies, Ian. Or doggies.
Dogs, yeah. Doggies, yeah. So I suppose from that perspective, the kind of visibility fatigue side of it, I don't really relate to, purely because I just don't care about it that much. I don't care. I didn't care enough about it to let it get to me that much. It was just like, no, this is not me. I'm not interested. So I suppose, where did that kind of pressure for yourself kind of come from, do you think?
The want to succeed, the want to get clients, to be able to help people. Essentially, I think most people become coaches, and if you don't, then I'm not sure why you're doing it. But most people become coaches because they've had an experience themselves, and they want to help other people through that experience using their knowledge and their coaching skills. And I think I was so invested in the coaching because of how much it helped me. I just wanted everybody to hear what I had to say, to then think, oh, she's, that's me, I'm going through that, or that could help, it was that. And I suppose there is an element of perfectionism, but it wasn't even about that. I just hadn't really, I followed a blueprint, I suppose, from a particular, from looking at everything that coaching was saying, particularly on some of the courses I did, and everything was just geared around social media. And I get it. Social media is essentially free, mostly, and it is a good platform to raise your profile on, but only if you're hitting the right people. We know the algorithms, particularly on places like Facebook, have just got, unless you're paying for advertising and you're paying big bucks, right? You really don't stand much of a chance. And from that perspective, if I'd have realised if I'd have even had the knowledge, so I wasn't totally understanding either how I tracked things. So if I'd have understood that more and realised how few people actually see that post, I mean, you can regurgitate your posts again, and again, in all honesty, because the algorithm, the amount of people who see your post, I can't even remember the percentage now, but it's minuscule.
I think it's about 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, 7% of like the people,
your audience,
like your audience will see what you post out.
Yeah. And I even tried some paid ads as well.
Yeah.
I did, yeah, because I'd done paid ads for the business that I had, but again, selling a product, very different. I did some paid ads, but I think when I felt exhausted and I took a step back, I thought it was because what I was doing, so what I wanted to coach in, wasn't the right thing. It wasn't, so, and then there's a lot of talk in the coaching world about, oh yeah, well, you could coach in that, but you need to think about coaching in something that makes you money. I've always thought that coaching was a tool to help people. And if we're only thinking of coaching as a tool to make money, I'm not sure how ethical that makes you as a coach, if I'm being honest, because you can coach in anything, can't you? You really can coach in anything. If you could literally coach in anything. I mean, I coach in my day job now, okay, and it's very different. It is coaching, but it's very different to what I do, personally. But it's like, if you could coach in anything and you only choose to coach in things that make you money, I'm not sure that makes me a great coach, because my passion and my feelings around what I'm doing aren't there. I don't know. Maybe I'm just too led by emotion, and maybe I need to be more led by, I don't know, money. I don't know. Maybe.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think if it doesn't resonate with you, you're clearly down the wrong path. Like I was when I first started doing that social media stuff. I was like, nah, no, don't care, not me. So it was completely unaligned with who I am and the coach I wanted to be. It just did not match up with me, which is why I just didn't do it. Probably to the detriment of my coaching business in terms of earning money from it. Definitely. Because obviously I wasn't looking to get that audience on social media, to get all the little like little courses that you can create and all this kind of stuff, or little ebooks or whatever. I just wasn't bothered about it. So yeah, my kind of approach is more now word of mouth and going out speaking, because that aligns more with me and who I am. And we have a podcast, so I love this podcast and talking with yourselves, and I'm currently setting up another one that's going to be launching this month. So I love speaking, so going down the speaking route is so much more aligned with me. So it's, I don't think it's a case of you're wrong in what you're thinking. I think it's a case of you were wrong in just picking the strategy that aligned with you from the outset. So D, coming to yourself, why do we think people are so focused on this visibility and getting out there? Is it because they want to make money as quickly as they possibly can, or what else is hidden behind that?
I think the money thing is important. Is an important issue because we are all trying to earn a living. You know, there's a difference between earning a living and making your millions. And I think whatever you choose to do, it should have a minimum of one, a sense of achievement for yourself, and it should have some sort of fun attached to it. It should also be able to pay your bills. So this is what I found, you might take a coaching course and they'll say, oh, you'll get clients, and you'll just start your business. It'll just happen. Well, it doesn't just happen. I'm afraid you have to find a way of doing it. And as you know, Ian, you've taken a different route. B and I, we've both done the social media thing to different degrees and different levels. But I think somebody had asked me, I remember a conversation I had quite a while ago. I said, if you want to make your millions, if you want to, retire at 35 or 55 or whatever, don't go into coaching. There's only very few people who make a lot of money from coaching. And a lot of us are just paying our bills and and getting on with things. We're not having a plush lifestyle because there's very few that charge 2.5 grand and consistently get enough clients to keep that going, so they're earning. You get all these you have all these adverts. Get your first 10 grand month. I mean, it doesn't happen for most people, I would say, from people I've spoken to and from my experience. So the money part is important, but don't go into coaching if you want to make it rich. Is my line on that. In terms of what was the question, Ian?
What kind of drives this? You've got to be out there. You've got to be out there. You got to put your face out there. What kind of drives that mentality?
There is a bit of herd mentality there as well, isn't there? And fear of missing out. So I know me, I was thinking, oh my God, I'm looking at all these people doing social media posts. Oh my God, I'm missing out. I've got to do it. I've got to get involved. But if you don't if you're not marketing to the right people, if you're not speaking to the right people, you could be saying anything and it wouldn't matter. Ian, you could talk to me about the intricacies of dog grooming or of looking after a dog till the cows come home, but I'm not going to buy anything from you because I don't have a dog, right? So it's it's really important who you're talking to. But for me, I have to say, and this is, I will say, I did actually enjoy a lot of content creation. It was just when I had the pressure of being consistent with it that I struggled. So
Okay.
I'm not ruling out going back into it in some way, because I actually did enjoy it and I was proud of a lot of the things that I produced. And what B was saying about this chat GPT as well, that's kind of where I drew the line, and that's how I fizzled out, because I was sort of running out of ideas. And then, you put something in chat GPT and it gives you this script. And I think that's not my voice, right?
Yeah.
That's not my voice. And if anybody's got any integrity, and those are the kind of people that I want to work with, they'll know that. Right. So, and they probably won't, it's probably in my head, but it just kind of struggled with that. But I think where new coaches coming out, or people who are trying to start a business on Facebook, it just seems like everybody's at it. You've got to do it. You've got to be in on it. And if you're not going to have business. But as Ian is proving, and being you as well, there are other ways of building your coaching business. And there are lots of different things that you can do. Like you work in you work in a job and a career that's giving you coaching, that you're coaching in. And that's not your own business, but you're still coaching and you're loving it, right? So it's there are different ways to be a coach. So fundamentally you need to love the coaching, I think, and then figure out how you do it. So that would be the advice point, not just jump on the bandwagon and do what everybody else is doing. And certainly don't just keep regurgitating other people's stuff. Because I do see a lot of that as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because people run out of ideas, you know,
Mhm.
it's a natural thing. 5 years ago, I would be that person saying, "Oh my God, so and so's posted about their baby having a poo," you know, and I was like, who
Someone
needs
just put a picture of their dinner on. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
that was me. And so there was
Mm.
a 180 shift.
Mm.
I've posted my dinner.
I
So
think I think it's kind of why I resonated with coach called Rich Litvin so much, because he's like literally only just now, after making millions already, just now starting to get into social media. And he's like, don't build your business that way. Build it through word of mouth by having real connections with real
Mm.
people. I think that's why I kind of resonated with that so much, because I just, yeah, it's just doesn't seem the right way for me. But there's also behind it that kind of myth of consistency equals success type thing, and
Mm.
you got to post this many times a day or this many times a week or whatever it is. It kind of, for me, it spawns out of this almost hustle mentality, which I can definitely relate to from my kind of full-time job side of things, where as a project manager, getting up, going into the office for like 6:30 and then staying late and studying, and then getting to the position I was in, where I was working late in the evenings and weekends, and my life just kind of draining away. It's that hustle mentality. So I can certainly understand how that can affect people and come into the equation. But let's just talk about the kind of costs of this then. So that burnout, maybe not just of being on social media, but that adding to the coaching, and B, you were saying you were doing a full-time job as well. So what does that kind of burnout look like if you've experienced that burnout,
Well,
or
like I
losing
said,
that spark, that passion that you were
yeah,
talking about?
yeah. So, I went, like I said, all guns in, full of passion, and literally felt like it stripped everything from me. So my passion, my want, I'd given up so much time with my husband. I had a sick, and then partway through, my dad got sick, and I was trying to juggle that at the same time. Um, yeah, and at that time I wasn't doing the job I'm doing now. I had the business, I closed the business, and then I got a job, and I didn't particularly like the job, and it was just the whole of my life felt like I felt like a train wreck. I felt like I'd hit rock bottom, like the train had just come off the rails, and I didn't know what to do, which way to go. And then I felt like, oh God, I remember going to a course, and I did a bit of speaking at it. It was a speaking course, and one of the guys who owned the company, they said to me, "Can I just ask you something? Do you chop and change a lot?" And I just thought, how rude, And actually, it's like it's got nothing to do with chopping and changing. I'm trying to navigate myself in this world of coaching, and you hear so many things, and you think, I've got to do that, and I've got to do that, and then I've got to do that, and then if I do that, I'll be successful. If I do that, I'll be successful. Do that, and literally, like I said, when it all came crashing down, it was like a train wreck. It was like everything just, that boom, like, and it just goes like that, and everything just splatters all over the floor. Like if you throw a box of Lego on the floor, it's
Yeah.
far reaching, yeah. And that's what it felt like. And it made me also, so the other thing it did for me is it made me feel really not good about what I did. It made me doubt that I was even a good coach, that I was even capable of doing it, that I even had the ability to do it. And yet this was a business where we were supposed to be helping people to navigate their future, like to find that positiveness out of whatever darkness they'd come through, like I had. And I'd come through this darkness, I'd had this work, I'd been coached, I'd had counselling, I was feeling fabulous, I went full on, and then it was like the train crashed and everything just went wrong, and absolutely everything. And then I was trying to pick up the pieces because I felt a failure, and it was just that cycle of mess. I can't even say anything else. It felt it. That's what it felt like, and it actually knocked my confidence. The confidence that I'd worked so hard in the last probably maybe 10 years of my life to build from various sources before I had coaching and counselling, and it just felt like all of that had just been washed away, really. And that's when I took my step back and actually sort of just started to look at, I think part of the focus was also financial, as well. So I felt a failure there. And then I remember a real conversation with my husband last year around my job. So the job I was doing, and he said to me, stop applying for jobs based on the salary. Apply for jobs that you actually want to do.
Mm.
He said, because that will make all the difference. He said, because otherwise you'll get a job with a salary that you'll hate in a matter of months. And you know what? He was so right. And that is exactly what I've done. I applied for jobs that I wanted to do. I got this coaching job and I really wanted it. It doesn't pay me huge money, but the satisfaction that I get from doing it is huge. And now that will give me more time and more headspace to actually work out what it is I want to do with my future and my coaching business, because it isn't the blueprint that everybody else has. I've got other things that I want to do.
Dee, what about yourself with regards to, did you experience any kind of burnout, or was it just a kind of losing a spark or passion?
Definitely the latter for me. I never lost the passion for the coaching. That's the passion for the putting myself out there, the pressure that I was putting on myself to be visible constantly, um, was difficult. And and through all of that, I was still fighting imposter syndrome. So you're trying to put on um, your best side. You're trying to show people what you're capable of doing, and that you know your stuff. And deep down inside, I know my stuff, as much as anyone can know their stuff, at whatever stage they are in their life. But I lost that feeling of wanting to do it. And then I thought, okay, you need to step back, because you're going to start producing rubbish, and it's not going to be fulfilling. It's not going to it's not going to work towards your ultimate goal anyway. And you just need to, find other ways. And this podcast, for me, is another way. I love it. I find that just the natural conversation that we have, the conversations that we have are just so uplifting for me, and hopefully people enjoy listening to them. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not ruling out going back to some. In fact, I've been thinking about it and pulling together some ideas, already. But I can't make it my only way of marketing myself, because that's just too much pressure. And I did enjoy it, and I think it's a nice thing to do when you enjoy it. The thing about, I think, just to say what my advice would be to new coaches as well, most people who come into social media marketing for themselves for the first time come in with a profile full of their friends and their family. And then they're told, this is my experience, you've got to get over the fact that it's your friends and family going to be watching you, because actually they're not going to be your clients. So if you're marketing, you need to draw a distinction between marketing your business and having a Facebook profile that just shows what you're up to, and having fun with your whatever. So that was difficult for me, because I like, I like to keep those two parts of my life separate. And there was an element of those things joining together, which I didn't didn't want to foster. So it was very difficult to do that. And also what they say to you is don't close your current Facebook profile and create a new business one, because you won't have any background, and I've got, I don't know, 10, 20, however many years of being a Facebook user. So you have to utilize that. So there's a lot of conflict in there. So my head, the way I stand at the moment is that I'm going to get back into the Facebook stuff as and when I'm ready, or LinkedIn or whatever. But I'm just going to use it as a business tool. And there's a distinction there, which I never I haven't had up until quite recently in my head. I was thinking, oh, okay, so my family and my friends, and but I'm just going to use it as and when I get to use it again. I'm going to use it as a business tool and see if that sits better with me. And maybe it might be Facebook, maybe it might be LinkedIn, which I find really confusing. Right? If anybody's out there wants to give me a tutorial on LinkedIn, yeah, I would really appreciate it, and I would definitely give you a freebie coaching session in return.
I think it's funny then you mentioned about the having your friends and
Comment, by the way.
family and having the friends and family on there. So
Yeah.
just before I started getting into the coaching side of things, I went through my friends on Facebook and I just deleted pretty much everyone on there. I was like, I literally just had family and like, I don't know, 5 friends. So I was like down to like the bare minimum. And people are like, oh no, Facebook friends, wow, wow, wow. Shut up. Not me.
Do you know, I might do that, actually. Yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah,
And
so
come back to you and say, yeah, mate, Ian, you're supposed to be my friend. Why have you knocked me off?
yeah, I've never had any of that. Probably because I just wouldn't have even replied to him anyway. It's like, yeah, we're so-called friends that we've never talked until I unfriended you. Yeah, great friends. But anyway, so one of the things I heard somebody ask once, and this was quite early on, which probably maybe solidified my thinking in terms of social media, was what's the cost of doing this social media and marketing if it's draining the energy from you because you don't like it and it's not aligned to you and your purpose? What's the cost of that? And so that kind of, to me, probably, I didn't realize that until we've been having this conversation. It just kind of triggered something in my head. I was like, oh my God, I remember that. It probably solidified that decision for me of it's not aligned with who I am. So no, I'm not doing it. So what can people do instead if they're struggling with this? Then what can people do instead, or how can they maybe just realign it? Do you like your little tip of thinking of it as a business tool rather than something personal? But what kind of other things can they look at potentially?
Well, there's the paid route, isn't there? There's the paid marketing route like B was doing. I haven't done that, but I know other people who have, and actually they've had success from it. So there's that option. There's also, there are coaching directories that you can get onto. There are, if you do a Google search, that will bring up some that you can join. You can start getting yourself known in your local community. Go to local groups for whatever reason. Like I go to a menopause group sometimes. I go to gym, and and talk to people, and just start having conversations like your Rich Litvin. Just start having conversations.
My Rich Litvin, yeah, my Rich
Definitely your Rich Litvin. But and also just I think it is key to talk to people. And in terms of other business ideas, I don't know really off the top of my head. I haven't quite thought that. I'm hoping to learn something from being you, Ian, today.
I think speaking is a really good route to go down, and you can get speaking gigs at lots of places. And actually, if you, depending on what you coach in, if yours is more of spiritual stroke holistic based coaching, There are loads of fairs and stuff you can go to, always being held, certainly where I live anyway, that you can go to, and you can maybe like, do some free sessions or give a free session away as a raffle prize. Do you see what I mean? I just think you've got to think a bit more out the box. I would try and tap into people who have businesses aligned with what you do. So you might be able to get into either corporate businesses or smaller businesses. You might be able to offer to go along for a day and do a bit of a talk and hand out some freebies. I think when it comes to marketing, depending on what it is that you're doing, of course, in terms of coaching, the limit is only as much as you limit yourself in your creativity. And they go on about, or you shouldn't do like a leaflet drop and stuff like that. Actually, there's also research to say that if you did something through people's letterboxes, something, like, I don't know about you, but when I get a birthday card now, and I don't get a moon pig or a whatever, and I get a handwritten envelope with a birthday card in, I'm quite excited because I don't get much handwritten through my door. Most of the stuff that comes through the door now is, let's face it, it's either junk or it's bills. Or so I think there's so many things you can do to think out of the box when it comes to marketing yourself. I think what I would say is, social media was always sold as the quick fix, the way to get quickly out there, to get loads and loads and loads of people following you. I don't necessarily believe that's true, because I don't think that a lot of people you get following you are your audience, even though what you're talking about, and if you pay, you can tamper your audience and whatever. I mean, that's the other thing. You can go down the paid route, but I've also had no success with the paid route from my other business. So I think if you're going to go down that route, you need to really scope your company that you choose. I think you really need to have an element of a hands-on approach, as well as listening to them and their ideas and stuff, because they don't know you, they don't know you really well, they don't know who you're after, and I think they can end up molding you into that false person that you're not.
Nice.
That's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, there's for me, it's always getting back to what's aligned for you, what feels aligned for you and your future and your vision, etc. So for me, it's part of figuring out, I suppose a bit of a journaling prompt for somebody is, what does being in alignment with my business look like for me?
Yeah.
Just have a think on that for, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, a couple of times this next week, and see where it takes you with regards to how you want to put yourself out there, rather than feeling bound to have to be posting on social media, being owned by the algorithm. Journal on what feels aligned to you.
People's podcast. There you go. Loads of people always looking for guests on podcasts.
Absolutely. Not us though.
We got that, haven't we?
No, but I'm just saying there are podcasts out there. We've all done it. We've all been on podcasts.
I love going as a guest on people's podcasts. Yeah. It's great. It's absolutely great. The first time I did it, absolutely bricking it. Well, now,
and if you do social media, be sensible about it. Don't let it take over your life, and don't put out stuff that isn't aligned with who you are. Even if you're just putting, if consistency is the key, which I think it is, even if you just put something out once a week, as long as it's true and it's, and it's aligned with you, that's fine too.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a little challenge for people. So I mentioned doing that little journaling prompt then, but something that will really help is my vision workshop.
It will.
Of which you can find the link to it in the show notes, and it will help you kind of start to understand and align to what your purpose is, and what your vision is for the future, and maybe it will help you figure out where you want to go with your marketing. So check that out. The link will be in the show notes. But Dee, any words of wisdom you've got whilst we wrap this up?
I was just going to say, I think, Ian, it's worth you. I know you say it's in the show notes, but I remember B and I have done this vision workshop with you one time. Is it the first or the last Thursday of the month, or when do you run it?
So the one that I'll send the link out for is just the recorded version.
Okay.
So you can go watch that. However, I do I do a monthly vision workshop, and it's the third Saturday of every month. That'll be a live one, which is much more interactive for people when you're on there as well.
Yeah. Lovely. I think my final word would just be, as it's come out with everybody here, be in alignment with yourself. You need to sometimes, it's not always easy to understand that language as well. So, be true, sit and think with yourself. What is it you are? What is it you're offering? And who you want to be, maybe in a year's time or in 5 years' time, with that, because alignment is a great word, but quite can throw people off. I think just be true to yourself, listen to yourself, trust yourself. You've come this far, you've got to your age, and you've survived. So trust yourself.
Yeah.
And on that note, we'll end it there. Like and subscribe, everyone, and please share this with anyone you feel needs to hear it. And obviously, again, provide please your feedback in the comments. We want to make this show about you. So give us ideas as well as what you want to listen to. And until next time, folks,
Be there.
be bare
and be naked.
Pow, pow.